Welcome back to the Million Dollar Landscaper podcast. Now, with all the different online platforms that you can promote your business on, it can get kind of confusing, can get overwhelming, and trying to figure out which ones you guys should use and which ones actually work and which ones you could waste your money on if you're not doing it right. Well, today's guests, we have Jake and Cody from Evergrow Marketing. They are experts in this in the online field. They've been in developing websites and doing Google ads and Facebook ads for quite some time. So we're excited to bring them back on the show to kind of perhaps open your mind and make you think about the different platforms that are out there. Some that you may have heard and seen online that you think are garbage. So welcome, Jake. Welcome, Cody. Appreciate you guys being on here.
Thanks for having us, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
So you guys, before we get started, you mind just sharing a little bit about Evergrow Marketing, what you guys are all about, kind of how you got started in the green industry and stuff?
Yeah. So my name is Jake. My partner's Cody. We've been running Evergrow Marketing since 2019 together. And we specifically focus on landscaping and lawn care businesses and just kind of local lead generation in general. Uh, the 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 move to just focusing solely on this industry was kind of multifaceted. I have a lot of experience in the green industry, mostly on the equipment dealership side, working at the last agency that Cody and I worked together at in like 2015. So it was mixed with that, with just me recognizing that there was like this really big technological gap in 2017 ish, where like landscapers and lawn care business owners were just kind of not hitting the mark with very basic website things. Um, and then it was kind of a nice callback to my dad and I always wanting to start a lawn care business, and then never did.
Nice. Well, guys, let's kind of start diving into it. Like we've said, that there's a ton of different platforms out there, Angie's List and Zillow and all those different other ones that we see. Kind of start sharing your thoughts on some of these, comparing to the traditional Google ads and local service ads and Facebook ads. What are you guys seeing? What you guys like? What you guys feeling about all that?
Well, first of all, I think like the biggest thing that we focus on is volume of opportunity. And so that's what a lot of agencies will focus on too. So you have your bigger ones, Google and Meta, and then maybe even Bing. And they'll go after all those platforms there. But I think what's really important is like it's not just volume, it's also where your target market is. So for our agency, we focus primarily on Google. That's with Google Ads and SEO, and we've done that for the last almost 7 years now. And the last couple years, we've made a very strong push outside of Google. A lot of our clients are kind of maxing out their ad spend, maxing out the potential. They want more, but they don't really want the poor lead quality that comes from platforms like Facebook and Instagram and those platforms. So we've really started branching out into what other platforms are there and what other kind of lead gen sources are there besides just Google search ads and SEO. And we've gone down all different types of rabbit holes like Yelp ads, Nextdoor ads, Google local services, or Google guaranteed, as a lot of people know. And then even started exploring stuff with like Angie's and what that looks like from an agency handling that part. But really trying to break the mold of just going from Google to Facebook or from Facebook to Google. Like there's a lot more industry relevant platforms out there that are that can get you a lot bigger bang for the buck.
So you mentioned like the local service ads or Google guaranteed. Can you kind of explain for people that just aren't aware, what's the difference between the traditional Google ad and an LSA ad?
Yeah. So normally when you Google something and you see the search results at the top and you see sponsored, and then there's that text section, that's a traditional Google search ad. And then the local services ads, there's like a separate pack where they'll say local service providers, and then that's what that other group is. And it's a completely different ad format. There's a different login platform in order to manage it, and it functions entirely differently too, like how you optimize it, how you manage it, um, how you even pay for clicks and the leads and that sort of stuff too. It's fully separate.
Have you guys been finding one's better than the other, or does it go back to your target audience? Or
Um, man, this is hard to do without like a full backstory. So I'll detract for a second, hopefully get back to what you're asking. But um, so we originally started playing with local service ads a couple years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, and got into it. And we thought we were under the impression that it wasn't going to work for some people, and I still think that that's true. It's not a one size fits all. Not anybody will see major success with it. But we also learned that we were just not doing some things optimally. And then once we figured that out, that if you do some things, pay closer attention, then it will work better for you. Um, so when it is working, and by working, at least for us on the marketing side, it's like, are leads coming through at all? Right. Because we can only do so much. And then the other half is on the business owners to respond and answer the phone and handle those things. But at least getting that volume through, like Jake was saying, in terms of volume, will that happen? Yes. And it's entirely situational. Sometimes you will see better cost per lead with local service ads. Um, and the quality will be great. Sometimes you'll see lower cost per lead, but because the quality isn't as good, it's effectively not more cost effective. And then other times you're paying more and it is worse, or you're paying more and it's better. It's fully across the board. Um, and I think it really just varies depending on your local market more than anything else.
so, how would a landscaper know, like, if it does work? Is it just kind of testing and seeing what works or what doesn't?
Yeah. I think the two most critical things, and we say this too when people express interest in it, to let them know there's going to be two really big things that matter more than anything else as to whether or not this will start working for you, let alone the afterwards, like whether it's actually functioning and then you're trying to make it better. But do you offer enough services for it to deliver enough and get leads? Because if you're only offering one, it's you're probably not going to get much from it, right? We see this a lot more with lawn care, right? Where guys will be wanting to use specific lawn care services, like just fertilization or something like that. And usually when we go after that, it doesn't get the volume that we need, and it's just not worth the effort, at least from the agency side. But so that's one. Do you offer a wide enough variety of services? And then the second is just your service area. Is your service area big enough? Do you have enough people searching in your area, in your region, to justify running ads for it? So again, it's for us, it's all volume plays. And that's, as the marketing agency, I would still tell anybody, I'll repeat it later too, sign up, go try it out. Like it costs you nothing to sign up and at least give it a shot. Um, if you get nothing from it, nothing is lost other than your time. But if we're going to charge people to help with this, then we don't want to take your money and then give you nothing for it. So like it needs to be, mutually beneficial. So we're paying close attention to that too, and making sure that you have enough, um, enough audience in order for it to work.
That makes sense. Now, with these LSA ads, for example, is there like a certain budget or some idea like a landscaper should be kind of looking for when they are going to get these ads or these leads?
Yeah. Yes and no. I mean, I don't want to tell anybody you can't do it because you don't have a big enough budget, especially if you are signing up for it yourself. Like if you're willing to go through the effort of the onboarding process, which is absolutely the worst part of the entire thing, is just signing up. Um, if if you can get through that and get in there, um, I would say just loosely, if you want to give it a fair shot, put $500 aside to put in there and just try it out and see what happens. And then from there, after you spend that, you can kind of determine whether or not it's worth continuing with or that sort of thing. But that's probably a good place to start, especially that way you're not too emotionally attached to it too, right? I don't want to tell somebody like, hey, you only need $100 and then you get one or two leads and they're either, it's not enough. It's not enough to tell you whether or not it's actually working for you.
What about any other platforms? Like the traditional Facebook. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so what we see with Facebook, and this is usually either the number one thing that new clients either come to us about, or the number one thing that new clients want to pivot to after we kind of maximize the opportunity with both search ads and LSAs. And it always comes with the expectation that, hey, Facebook leads are generally pretty terrible. Um, they're really cheap and they're really easy to get. And you can get, like, if you run Facebook lead form ads or Facebook Messenger ads, you can get leads 10 to 20 bucks on Facebook. However, Facebook users are notorious for fat thumbing things. And if you have like a lot of just kind of like automatic fields that just kind of generate in like first name, last name, email, things like that, and you count that as a lead, you're going to get a lot of really low quality leads. And when we try to call them, they're going to be like, I didn't submit any of this info. Um, that's called fat thumbing. So um, you get a lot of that. So you want to, like, when you run Facebook lead ads with those lead forms, you want to have like custom things that they actually have to enter. So like it's intentional. Um, and same thing with like the messenger situation is like they're generally like cheaper leads, but again, low quality. So with Google, what we expect is like a 30 to 50% close rate, which is just kind of in line with industry average. And with Facebook, I always say it's 5% or less. So what it really comes down to is customer acquisition costs and the platform that you're aiming for. So if you're getting $10 leads from Facebook, that's no different than getting, $100 leads on Google. Um, it's the customer acquisition cost is relatively the same. It comes down to, do you have the administrative capabilities to facilitate those leads and actually qualify those, or are you looking for kind of like the most amount of leads, the least amount of effort? And that's kind of where we try to explore other platforms. So we've found, like, in terms of social platforms, we've found a lot of success with Nextdoor recently, which is, I guess if no one's familiar with Nextdoor is a social media app where like you can sign up using your home address, and then you can communicate with all of your neighbors. But you can also have a business profile page there and kind of engage, very similar to if you just scrubbed Facebook away from everything out of Facebook, except you left the local community groups. And that's Nextdoor.
So is as far as Nextdoor, is it pretty active and like you said, is a pretty good place to get leads because
Um,
like they are looking for typically some kind of service work or
Yeah, Nextdoor is, we found to be relatively unique. It's like the top 75% of income earners are on Nextdoor. And it's I think 75% or more are homeowners. And a third of every house in the US has a Nextdoor account. So this is according to their data that they send us, but it matches the results that we see too. So uh, as far as activity goes, I've used Nextdoor even before I even considered it as a marketing channel for our clients, but I used it as more of like a gossip channel. And also figuring out like when trick or treating was supposed to be. Like that's like what I use Nextdoor for. So I really only ever opened the app when I was like looking for something like, or like recommendations, or like, it's the same reason why people go into Facebook groups, like community Facebook. Nobody goes in there and just peruses. Like, you're either looking for a recommendation or it's hitting your feed, or whatever reason. Same thing with Nextdoor, except they've made some significant changes to the UI, like within like the last month or so. And they have like community updates and weather information and news that, like, and the way that it's laid out, I remember sending our Nextdoor rep this, and I was like, this actually makes me want to open the app and just use it, like as like news or weather or whatever. And and I generally see a lot of engagement on when people make a post. As far as like the leads go and like the ads go, yeah, I mean, again, we've been seeing really good results. Now they're more expensive than Facebook. Like, we're seeing like $30 to $50 leads on Nextdoor, but we're seeing higher than 5% close rates. Probably not as high as Google, but because we've run like a limited test on it, probably like heading up on 6 months with 6 clients on it, and we've seen, um, yeah, probably $30 to $50 leads. And I think they report like a 20 to 30% close rate. So they're more higher part of the funnel, which is the purpose of going to Nextdoor. You're not going to move up the funnel if you're not maximizing the bottom of the funnel, which is Google and Yelp and those search platforms. So yeah, overall, really good results.
Nice. Any tips or anything you can share with the Nextdoor ads as far as like targeting, or is there anything special with that? I've never messed with Nextdoor ads. So.
Yeah. So the Nextdoor ads, the V2, this is what they're calling it, is so relatively new that they're relying on us and other agencies to give them feedback on their platform. And we've noticed a couple issues with the platform in itself, and this is just like full transparency. And like one thing is we can't give our clients direct access to it right now because they don't have a way to segment access to different sub accounts. So the way that Nextdoor ads used to work was that there were two different types of ad platforms. There was an agency and a franchise ad platform that only agencies and franchises had access to, and then there was an ad platform similar to like your Facebook ad center with your business page, separate from Ads Manager. That's the way Nextdoor ads used to be. I'm not sure if it's totally the same now, but the way that we have it set up is we have our agency account with sub accounts, and we have our own agency reps that we can get in touch with. The um, the biggest advice that I can give on Nextdoor and why you might want to consider using it is because it's the only platform out there in which you can target people where they live. And so, like, let me clarify. When you target on Google, you target on Nextdoor, you target by zip codes or cities or other like radius. What you're actually doing is you're targeting based on where people are or regularly are or physically are, right? You don't know where they live. Google and Facebook don't know where people live. They don't know their home address. That's why when you're on a Google ads campaign or a Facebook ads campaign, you might sometimes get people who live outside of that area, even though you're not targeting that area. It's because they're in. So we run into this issue a lot when people want to target suburbs of metros, but people commute to the actual metro, and so they'll get leads from people who are outside of those areas because of just the fact that they commute and they are regularly in those targeted areas. Okay, Nextdoor. When you sign up for Nextdoor, you add your home address. Nextdoor knows exactly where you live. So when you target a zip code or you target a radius or you target a city or neighborhood or whatever, uh, your ads are only being served to those people. Something else that you can do, just like Facebook, is you can upload custom audiences. Whereas Facebook, you can upload a list of your previous um, customers or just people you've gotten quotes for, first name, last name, city, state, zip, things like that, and you could retarget them on Facebook. With Nextdoor, it adds a whole nother layer into your retargeting capabilities in terms of route density and how you can actually create those really hyper specific route density campaigns.
Nice. Nice. So it does sound like a little bit more direct to that person.
Mhm.
What about like any of the organic stuff? Is it worthwhile posting in those groups or anything at all? Or do you get kicked out for doing that kind of stuff?
So the thing with Nextdoor is it doesn't really use like groups as much as like Facebook is. It's more of just kind of like community driven, and so like as long as you like are like physically located in a certain community or like in a neighborhood, you can. I believe we haven't explored a ton with like the organic part of the Nextdoor business page, but you can post uh like offers, and those can get distributed, or not offers, but you can post posts on your page and those would get distributed within the surrounding communities of where you set your profile to. um, what I see a lot of people doing, a lot of businesses doing, is they will kind of scan, they'll log into Nextdoor and they'll kind of scan like the different communities and neighborhoods and look for someone requesting a recommendation for lawn care or landscaping, and then comment as the business profile and say, yes, we offer that. It's the exact same thing that everybody else does in Facebook groups. But no, you're not going to get kicked out on Nextdoor for doing that stuff, because it's not, there are no like, uh, there are no owned communities or owned groups or anything like that. It's all just part of the Nextdoor platform.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So, are there any other platforms that you guys are finding some success with, or are you playing around with to, help the landscapers get some more work?
Yeah, got a couple four-letter ones. Yelp, which is uh, which is one that we've had to kind of fight an uphill battle on and change some perceptions on. So Yelp is not exactly a favorable platform when we talk to other landscapers and lawn care companies. And the reason is because Yelp is really divided into two categories. One is the business side, and one is like the agency side. And so when you're getting calls as a landscaper from Yelp like crazy, you're talking to the business side. Um, Yelp recognized that they have a very bad consumer, or they have a very bad like business relationship with businesses. So they created the agency partner program, and they're basically relying on agencies and being kind of like a partner to agencies to help utilize the platform in a correct manner, and not try to get people onto the platform who don't use it responsibly or know what they're doing. So um, we opted into this. We started doing some preliminary tests with clients like almost a year ago at this point, and started seeing really good results. Again, $30 to $50 leads, and it's all search based. So the close rates are even higher than Nextdoor. So this is like what we do once we start maximizing Google ad spend, as I usually recommend Yelp next. And because it's another search platform. And the thing is like with Yelp is that, especially with Google and how AI is working with everything, like I think people are going to be driven towards more kind of niche specific directories and search engines when they're looking for something very particular. And that's why we started looking at Yelp in the first place. And we started testing Yelp. And one of the main reasons we were looking at that was because if you Google lawn care company near me or landscaper near me, one of the first results under the map pack is a Yelp listing. It says top 10 lawn care businesses in whatever area you're looking in. And we were looking at Yelp because I wanted to know how to get in there. I want to know how to get our clients in there. Like if you can't beat it, join them. And so when I was looking at this, I realized that all of those top 10 that they're talking about are all people running Yelp ads. They're all pay to play to be in there. So when we started talking to our agency rep and explaining like, hey, we kind of don't care about Yelp ads. We just want the SEO boost for our clients in this listing. So what does it take to get in there? And as we were doing that, we kind of realized that, hey, Yelp ads is actually really good if you know what you're doing. And we started getting $30, $50 leads. But like Google local service ads, those have to be like, you have to respond to those. Like you have to work in the platform, you have to answer the calls, you have to respond to the messages. And the longer your response time is, the more you're going to pay for a click, which in turn, the more you're going to pay for a lead, and the more or the fewer leads you're going to get. So Yelp kind of gets gated with local service ads in the question of, are you even going to answer your phone? And if you're not, then you shouldn't be running this, because you're not going to get good results with it.
Before we hopped on the show, we were kind of chatting a little bit about Yelp and them, and you said that you found some success with people that are typically larger size businesses. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah. I mean, with really anything, Yelp,
Yeah.
local service ads, and then even platforms like Angi.
Yeah. And is that because typically they have somebody there to answer the phone, and they don't have like AI answering services or something like that, or
I I'm trying to like, I think Scott, I think you know more than anybody here, but I'm trying to like use my words wisely, because I feel like 9 times out of 10 when someone says this platform doesn't work, I have to be like, are you even answering your phone? And so I think a lot of like the larger businesses have success with these platforms because they are answering their phones and they have a process. And with Angie's in particular, you like you always hear in the groups that, Angie doesn't work. Like it's another 4-letter word. We don't want to talk about it. Like they're evil. Don't answer their phone calls. But I talk to landscaping businesses and lawn care businesses owners every day, and we have over 50 clients, whether they're doing marketing or doing just website hosting or website builds. But I would say a handful of them, probably 5 to 6 of them, are doing really well in Angie's, and it's nothing to do with us. Like we're not managing that at all. I just talk to them, and all of them, all 5 to 6 of these that I'm referencing are multi-million dollar companies. Like they're large landscaping companies, and that you use a as well as I know that you don't get to that size by not knowing your pricing and not knowing your systems, which means they're doing something right that everybody is doing wrong with platforms like Angie's and kind of giving them a bad name. And so it got us to thinking like, well, what is that breakdown? Why are these successful companies like having really good results with those kinds of platforms, and why are all of these other ones, like the vast majority, just not? And what we're starting to kind of hypothesize is it's literally answering the phone, but it's not just answering the phone; it's answering the lead inquiry immediately. So, like with Angie's or with Yelp or with any of those other platforms, leads come in multiple ways. It's not just a phone call; it's often just like a message or a form submission or something like that. And the ones who get the sale are the ones who respond the quickest. And so the problem with like a lot of, I think, like solo operators or like guys who are still in the field is that they're in the field. They can't answer the phones, or they can't like respond to those form requests immediately. So you have these bigger companies who have the office staff, like that's their job. They got a tab open that has Angie's open, a tab that has Yelp, a tab that has LSAs. They have tabs that have everything open, and that's what their job is. And um, when I talked to our Angie's rep, because we're looking at seeing what kind of partnership there can be between us and Angie's, is like, is this kind of what they're seeing? And the answer is yes. It's the businesses that respond to the leads the quickest get the sale. And it's not always the tire kickers that everyone is suggesting. Yeah, it's the tire kickers that are responding to you a day later because they're getting prices. But the ones who went with the first one and are done and already sold, those aren't the tire kickers. So
Yeah. I think the tire kickers thing too could also like that by itself needs to be addressed too, because a lot of business owners want to attack the platforms, not realizing or just not willing to accept or admit that the platforms are how they are, right? Um, you're going to get the leads that you get. Some of them, no doubt, on every single platform. Some of them will be bad, and you have to be willing to accept that, and you factor that into your costs, right? Your cost per acquisition, how you're closing business. But that's outside of your control. You can't do anything to change that. All you can do is change your inquiry process. How quickly are you answering the phone? When somebody inquires or they bring something up, maybe you don't offer that service. Are you just saying no? Are you saying no, but we do this, right? Very simple things like that. It's not that hard or complicated, but if whoever is answering the phone, if you're not having them do those sorts of things, you're not having those conversations internally so that they know how to address that. We see it all the time. I mean, we listen to the calls, right? So we know when there's a inbound query for something that isn't the direct service that they're hoping to promote, and then the person just says no, that's a lot of money wasted, right? And you have to remember too that maybe whoever's inquiring isn't the only person that's going to be the lead, right? They might be inquiring for somebody else. They might, they have people in their network too that even if you say, no, we don't do that, but we do this, and they're not interested in that, it doesn't mean that their friend isn't. Like there's a lot that goes into the sales process that we can't control. But I think that's important for us to bring up as the marketing team is like, we can't change that. We can't do anything about it. So you got to get crafty about how you're going to best handle those other ones, except that some will be bad. You can't change that. But you can still make the most out of those that are iffy just because they're not, we all want the total ideal customer call to happen, and we want to pay for those at the lowest cost, and it just, it's not realistic.
We want to take a quick second to tell you about our friends over at Cycle CPA. I can't even express to you how important it is to have a good accountant on your side. You know you want accurate bookkeeping and financial statements every month. Instead, you're often left with limited time to focus on the accounting side of your business and no reports to show for it. At Cycle CPA, the landscaping accountants, they not only handle the bookkeeping, but also provide landscape industry benchmarking, job costing, financials by service line, advisory meetings, and much more. Cycle CPA has a team of landscaping accountants available to provide anything from bookkeeping to CFO services. Visit cyclecpa.com, and for $100 off, mention the $1 Million Landscaper podcast.
Want to grow your business and get more customers fast? Then it's time to talk about pay-per-click advertising from Green Frog Web Design. With PPC, your business can appear right at the top of the search results, putting you in front of the customers who are already looking for your services. Whether it's landscaping, home improvement, or retail, Green Frog's expert team will create targeted, high-performing ad campaigns that deliver real results. No wasting money, no guessing games, just more leads and more sales. And the best part, Green Frog handles everything for you, from keyword research to ad design to optimization, so you can focus on what you do best, running your business. If you're ready to leap ahead of your competition, visit greenfrogwebdesign.com today or just click the link in the bio. Start driving traffic, generating leads, and growing your business like never before.
You're 100% right with like the process. And that's something we've been talking about in our programs a lot lately is the sales process, because you can go hire Evergrow Marketing and make this great looking website, have these great ads that are bringing these leads in. But if you're not following up and not asking the right questions, or can you close on it because you can't sell it, then that's the problem. Then you have to look at internally and figure out what can you do, how to increase your sales rate, like your close ratio, I should say. When I've asked people this, what's your close ratio? I don't know. I think 50%, 60%. Well, have you tracked that? No. Well, then, and then the same thing, like, where are these leads coming from? I don't know. Like, we have to track it. So yeah, there's a whole other side that you guys can't control. It's out of your hands. So
Yeah.
you have to think about that as well.
So by default, we have call tracking and everything that we do in terms of like clicks to call. So if somebody's on a mobile device and they go to your website and they hit like the call button, it'll call, right? But like by default, in a lot of our clients, we don't have like call tracking and call recording set up. That usually comes in like once you start getting into these other platforms, or like by request, because it's like, well, there's usage billing, like it costs to like per minute to record this stuff. So whenever we get pushback and being like, hey, the leads are low quality, I'm like, well, the forms aren't. But if we have 30 form fills in a month and we have 40 phone calls in a month, like maybe we should turn on call tracking and we can listen to some of those. And then it usually like dies down right after that, because usually it's going to be like, okay, well, now I have access to these call recordings and now I can tell that if it's actually low quality leads or if there's a problem with the sales process. And what I never thought we would set out to be as a marketing agency is a sales consultancy. And like it turns out like that's kind of what some people expect.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of people, they believe they're a great salesperson. And I'm not saying they're not, but there's definitely skills and things that you can do to improve on it, to make your process better, to make your sales go through. So it doesn't really matter where those leads are coming from. If you can't gather that information properly, pre-qualify them, and then sell them and close them, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You guys could be I'm sure you guys run this. You can work your tails off trying to get all these leads, and they kind of, I hate to put it this way, but they kind of ruin it on their end, right?
Yeah. I mean, the other thing too is like, when people give things like 1 month and they say, hey, like none of the leads were really good. They came out of our service area. Like Nextdoor is really no excuse, right? They give us the service area. We run the ads, we get the leads, and they say, hey, well, 3 out of 4 of those weren't in our service area. And it's like, well, you do realize we're on Nextdoor, right? And you gave us the service area, which means we can tailor that in to very, very specific service area and make sure that those leads are much higher quality. So um, my like the biggest thing that I want people to take away from this too is like if you tried a platform and it didn't work, instead of saying that platform doesn't work, ask yourself why didn't it work and can it be improved based on what you're currently doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that goes pretty much for any type of marketing, whether you're doing print marketing or, where people just send out one postcard and, well, it didn't work. Well,
We Evergrow is a very productized agency. Like we're specific on landscaping and lawn care, and the only services that we sell are services that can be duplicated to all of our clients with a very optimal success rate. So we're not going to offer a service that we don't see like repeatable success across multiple clients. So if we're offering something and it's not working in that first or second month, like there's probably a nuance to your market that we can adjust for, or maybe it's your targeting, or maybe it's the sales process. But there's usually things that we want to look at before just abandoning that and then moving on, because we're not just throwing things at a wall trying to figure out what sticks. It's productized because we know it works.
one of the things for those listening, one of the things I loved about Evergrow Marketing is they're very data oriented, meaning they look at all the data, they look at all this information coming in. So it's not like they're flying by the seat of the pants or just guessing. They know the data. They look at the numbers, look at your numbers, and figure out what's going on. Like personally, I've worked with them. I know this happens. So I would definitely encourage, like, if you are thinking of any of these platforms, reach out to these guys. These guys are great with this stuff.
We had a really good example of a client in the Dallas area, and he was asking us about certain things like with Google Ads, like what are we targeting, like income demographics? Are we targeting like age groups and things like that? And or are we running these tests? And the short answer is yes, but probably not in your account. Like we're running it in somebody else's account, and then if like they're A/B testing it, while another account is A/B testing a different thing, while another account is A/B testing a third thing. When we find a winner in an account, we slow roll it out and then roll it out to everybody. And then everybody wins off of somebody else's A/B test. And that way, like we're not sitting there wasting your money A/B testing 100 different things when we have 50 ad accounts that we can do this across. And so like one of the things we had to come back to him was like, yeah, we actually did a demographic test a while back. And that demographic test showed that we want to bid 10% higher for, what was it, Cody? Like the top 10% of income earners or something like that?
For household incomes. Yeah, we bid
Yeah.
up on high household incomes. Yeah.
Yep. And then we bid down on low household incomes. So essentially what that means is when someone is searching and Google determines that they have a higher household income, we will take our bids for our clicks and we'll push them up like 10 to 20%. I can't remember. And then the other ones will push down. So when we go against other landscapers who are just running Google ads and they don't have those bid adjustments, Google is likely going to show their ads to the advertisers who are lower income, because they're not going to want to show us because we're bidding less for those. So, but they're going to show us because we're bidding higher for the higher household incomes, which means our budget is likely going to be spent solely on the higher household income target demographic before Google is willing to even show our ads to the lower household income target demographic. And so when we found this out, we rolled it out to everybody. Boom, everybody got it, and everybody saw a lower cost per lead, just because the higher household income had higher click-through rates and higher conversion rates. On the other side of that, the other question that came on was like, well, what about target demographic? What about like ages? And to that I say, like, because he only wanted to target ages 34 and up, and I'm like, well, if you're only going to want to target ages 34 and up, despite our household income budget increases, then your own logic would exclude me from that targeting. I have the budget to afford your services, but I am not of age. That doesn't make any sense. And so those people kind of filter themselves out when you look at those kind of layered demographic targeting and budget adjustments.
Yeah, that's my favorite stuff to dig into. I remember the household income data had a big shift after COVID, right? Because before that, we were looking at the conversion distribution across the income groups, and then post COVID, it just split. It was like it was the sea and Moses was just parting it. Like the conversions went up to the top end. I mean, and the bottom end too, but the middle started to really fizzle out. So you had so much more going up to that top 10% of household incomes. And then, like Jake was saying too, like we've crunched the numbers with with gender and age. And gender, we do have, I think it's either 5 or 10% we bid down on men actually, because it's more ideal for women to be the ones inquiring. Which um yeah, the age group thing though is what we found was it was self-selective. Like not that many young people are inquiring. So it's not a problem because the volume isn't high. And if they are, they do have the money. So you don't have to bid down on them because they're already not searching. So going after them doesn't really do that much for you because if they're, they've already predetermined themselves whether or not they can do something about it. They're not even calling. They're not inquiring otherwise if they know that they're not in the market.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And to me, just what you guys have been speaking about here shows the advantage of hiring an agency to deal with the ads and stuff because you have the knowledge, you have the experience. If you're doing this on your own, hats off to you. And I understand if you're trying to just get going, I understand that. But having somebody that knows all this, has done all this testing, is going to save you a lot of money in the end, a lot of headaches in the end, and a lot of confusion. So that is one of the things that I would really recommend when you start looking to do ads. Reach out to Evergrow.
We when we started Evergrow, day one, we outsourced our bookkeeping. We outsourced payroll. We outsourced all of that because we can do that, and a lot of people do that in house. They just go into QuickBooks and they just do it. We don't want to. That's not what we do. It's not where we want to spend our time. It's not what we want to do. So, with Google Ads or with SEO or things like that, like that's kind of the position that I want people to see Evergrow as, is like your accountant, but for marketing. You know that the money that you're spending on us or you're spending on your marketing partner is profitable and driving leads, and it has an ROI, and that's all. And that has really been kind of our positioning as a productized agency for delivering these like repeatably successful services. So there are going to be agencies out there that are a lot more consultative, that are like much higher price tag, and those usually come with like weekly, bi-weekly, monthly meetings, strategic calls, things like that. That's not us. Like we are a very productized, cost-oriented, ROI-focused green industry agency that is data-driven.
That's the one great thing about you guys. It's awesome. So I know we kind of drifted away a little bit from talking about these different platforms. Is there any other platforms that we didn't really mention today that you guys are tinkering with or found success with?
So we have a roadmap, and that roadmap right now is productizing Nextdoor, which is almost done, into being like, this is the service, this is the deliverables, this is the process. And then we're moving into we're going into probably like email remarketing and organic social. After that, Angie's is on that list, but we have a lot more to learn before I'm willing to dive in there. But I think more importantly, what we're really focused on is an inbound call AI receptionist. I guess that's what we're calling it right now. And this would be primarily just offered to our clients just for the cost of the usage-based pricing, which is like 2 pennies a minute or something like that. And but because of the way we're actually working directly with Call Tracking Metrics and helping them develop this AI specifically for landscaping and lawn care and the green industry in general. But it'll be nice because we'll be able to just. The biggest problem with these like inbound call receptionists is that you have to build them, and it takes a lot of work, and it's almost like building an entire website when you load the knowledge bank and the prompts and everything. So with us, we'll be able to just duplicate the core component of it over to all of our clients, and then also have a knowledge bank that can be swapped out with our clients' unique information. So we're working on this. We're so close to getting this down and actually being able to launch it for our clients. And once we're able to do that, things like answering the phone for Yelp ads or local service ads, or even answering the phone for when like their office is closed, will no longer be a gate. It'll be no longer be a problem for using these other services and getting leads for those. And so we're really like focused on that and making sure we can do that before moving into these other platforms like Angie's or Thumbtack or whatever is lead driven.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a game changer for the industry. And I think just from my experience, maybe fill in here, but talking to the landscapers, they've kind of changed almost a 180 as far as AI. Like, and at the original or beginning, people were like, I don't want AI. I don't want to sound like a robot. It has come a long way as far as how fast it responds and how it sounds and everything else, and the knowledge that you can put into this stuff. So, any thoughts on from your end?
Yeah, ours is still like most conversational AI is like you can still tell it's AI. But ultimately, like I haven't seen that been a barrier for people calling in and wanting to get an appointment scheduled or wanting to get a sales rep out. Is there something that's going to be taking their information? And I saw, it might have been your group. I think someone posted about like who's using like an AI like call receptionist. And I remember I saw a couple of comments on there like, what does this world come to? Things like that. And I'm like, well, what this world has come to is that is now the bare minimum. That is the bare minimum that your company should have. It's not what your company should rely on. So the way our AI is actually set up on is it's once it gets past 3 rings, it picks up. So a real person has the opportunity to answer the phone, and if they don't, the AI is going to get it. We're going to have 100. The idea is to have 100% um, uh, uh, answer rate, whether it's a human or an AI. And then even if a human caller gets frustrated with the AI, we have the AI prompted to say, "Hey, I'm sorry. Like, if you want to speak to a human, that's great, but there's literally no one available right now. So I'm what you got, unless you want to go to a voicemail." And so what I will say to like landscapers who are still hesitant about using like an AI administrator or something like that is like that is the baseline. If you're not answering your phone and your competitor also isn't answering their phone, but they have an AI doing it, they're going to get the sale.
Yeah. And, it, and I've heard people say, it's just like a glorified answering machine. Well, it is, but there's a lot of things it could do, and it can kind of think on its own, and it learns your business. You're training it. Even if they call in to ask what time you open up tomorrow or something like that, it
Yep.
can answer that.
Yeah, and it not only does that, but it sends lead details either to your email and or text it to you. And they can also integrate with your calendar and your CRM, and it can actually upload all that information for you and it literally act as an inbound agent. Where, you know, I talked to some landscapers who are seriously considering like outsourcing their inbound stuff to like an agency in the Philippines. Like this really isn't that much different than that.
Yeah. And eh, once you have it kind of trained and you kind of optimize it, it's kind of done. I mean, there's always going to be some things, but it's like unlike a human, which can call off or call in sick or have to
Yep.
constant train or they quit tomorrow, like you have to go train somebody else. This is kind of always there, which is really, really nice.
So we've got the way that we're building our knowledge base for our knowledge bank for our clients using the AI is that if there is a question that it cannot answer, we'll be alerted. And then what we do with that then is say, okay, we'll just go into the knowledge bank. We will answer that question. So the next time that question comes up, it'll be answered.
It's the wave of the future, like you said, and we we have to be taking advantage of it. Otherwise, you're gonna be missing out.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, I know we talked a little bit before we hopped on here, and you kind of are mentioning a little bit about the tech stack and having these different softwares. Is that kind of the wave of the future, having these different things to like with the voice AI and connecting all these things together?
Yeah, I mean, it's it's really hard to say some of this stuff. Like I think about GEO is what they're calling it right now, generative engine optimization. So Chat GPT and um, Gemini and Claude and those sorts of things. Um, this stuff is coming and you can't stop it. That's for sure. But like Jake said, I think we're more than anything, we're raising the baseline for everything across the board. So what you should be expected to have and do, um, you don't have to do it. But if you're going to get into it seriously, that part is getting higher. So for example, like Jake was saying, if you're putting any money into ads, expecting people to call you, and you don't have somebody dedicated to answer the phone, at this point, to me, that baseline is now like, don't do it. Just don't do it. You're wasting money like that. It's all. I almost feel mean saying it, but I do want to just tell people, like, for real, if you don't have somebody answering your phone, um, this isn't. You're not there yet, right? You're just not there, and you got to get there. And then once you get there, this is like one of my hottest takes, I think, in marketing, is telling people that marketing is the last thing that they should do, right? But it really is. Like, if you don't have all this other stuff squared away and figured out, and you think that marketing is going to save you, you're misunderstanding business fundamentals, right? Um, as far as some of these other platforms go, I think it's our future, is how I would say it. Like, we see that this really gets into a lot of like economics. The really established platforms and things that are used to doing and things that they know have worked in the past, are just becoming fiscally unviable. And that's how I would describe it. It is no longer cost effective in certain markets and with certain amounts of competition in order to enter those places and actually be to be in business, right? Like, you will not make money competing in some of those areas. So then we know we have to move sideways, right? And like what Jake was saying with Nextdoor, you log in, the advertising platform, it feels like it's comedy compared to Facebook, right? Because in Facebook, you can tweak anything, every setting that you want, it's all in there. And you almost get used to it and you think, oh, this is good, this is nice. But do you need it? And then when you start thinking that way, you go, okay, maybe you don't. Maybe Nextdoor doesn't have all of these things, but it still works and it does what we need. And most importantly, it ultimately leads to costs per acquisition lower than anywhere else. So um, that's what we keep looking at. And we keep moving sideways and looking at those things. And for our agency, that's where we're growing and looking into, because I think doubling down is good. There are times when you double down, and we did that for a really long time. And we're not going to walk away from, search, Google ads, SEO, that sort of thing. But we are going to start moving sideways because it's better for stability long term. And also, we do see things generally moving that way. Like, ChatGPT it did a big hit to a lot of what everybody in our industry knew as normal and had just basically taken for granted for the longest time. And it's shaking up everything, not just search, not just, how people are looking up these things, but how are you doing acquisition in your business? And we're looking at that across the board. I don't know if I answered that right, but
well, I guess from make sure I interpret this correctly for everybody, but it's kind of looking at the all these different platforms and figuring out which one kind of for your target audience and that stuff, and if it makes sense, and if you don't have the person answer the phone, or you don't have the voice receptionist to answer the phone for you, well, maybe Angie's isn't the correct fit for you. But there's a ton of other platforms out there you can kind of look at, and then you can always grow into those things. You can, like you said, go sideways, and then, okay, I'm going to add Angie's the next year because I'm going to have the voice AI or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I guess. So let's just take an example. We have a landscaper that's doing whatever, $300,000, $500,000 a year. What platforms would you guys recommend kind of right now? If they're not doing any marketing, they have a decent website, what would you kind of recommend?
Google, number one. Like, one, it's free. I mean, it's free to claim your Google business profile. I mean, it's got, all about this. It's almost free to build your own website. Like, you don't need to rely on a professional agency to build a website for you. You can just get started. And like, I would strongly recommend getting started on Wix or Wix Studio or Squarespace or like literally any other builder out there. And to all the naysayers out there who say the platform matters for SEO, it doesn't. It really, really doesn't. Um, if you learn SEO, you can apply the fundamentals to any other CMS, content management system, which is also another fancy word for website builder. You can apply those fundamentals to any website builder out there. So just get started, build something. Let it, if you want to learn your own SEO, you absolutely can. Like, it's just as easy as mowing a lawn. Like, everybody can do it. It's just a matter of how much time you want to sink into it. So learn that, uh, play with it for, a few months. And then, if you're seeing results or you want to actually start investing in like SEO and more paid ads, that's where I would go. I will say this, like, we published, I think, beginning of this year, we published our results for 2024 on Google Ads and what the averages people were spending every season. And like the peak, I think, was like around $1,000 a month. Now this is just what our clients are spending. So in certain markets of like 100,000 people, you're probably only going to be able to spend 500 to $1,000 maximum. Um, in like other markets, like the Chicago Metro, you can probably get away with $5,000 to $8,000. And it depends on the services you offer too, right? So like, if you only do organic lawn care, your market is going to be a lot, like the amount you can spend on Google is going to be a lot lower than somebody who just does general lawn care. So um, I really haven't seen a market where you can spend $10,000 responsibly. I barely see any markets where you can spend $5,000 responsibly. So the cap of how much you can actually put into Google Ads is not that high. Uh, and that's why I would focus there first, is because you can max that out before um, Google just stops giving you more leads. Because, right, you can't make people search. They either are or they're not, or they aren't. And if you're going to give Google $10,000, they're going to find a way to spend it. So um, there is a responsible cap there. And then after that, I would start looking at the other platforms like Nextdoor. I would say Yelp and Angie's, but you need the inside staff to be able to support that if you're not using any kind of AI to answer the calls. And if you don't have that, it's just going to be wasted money. And I know landscapers at $300,000 don't have that inside staff. Yeah, they're focused on. I know those types of landscapers are focused on, getting more guys in the field and more actual like leads and quoters.
Yeah. What would you say to those that say they don't need to have all this stuff? And to me, it's typically the guys have been in this industry for a while, 20, 30 plus years, and been doing it for a while, but they don't need to waste their money on ads. They don't even need a website. Any thoughts to those naysayers?
Yeah. What's your retirement plan look like? So, that's it, man. Like, okay, so you're gonna do this until you're what, 65, 70, and then hopefully you got enough saved up.
Yeah, I think that you're not wrong, right? I'm not going to say that you're wrong, because it just depends on what you want. I think that like Jake and I have grown, Evergrow, to a point where we haven't had to concern ourselves with certain things yet either. And until we hit that point, we don't have to care about those things. And I could say that same thing then to anybody who's saying, like, I've done it this whole time without having this be a problem. I'm like, well, I'm not going to tell you that you have a problem if you don't have one and you don't see one. But if you have other goals and you're pursuing them, and then you're falling short of those things and you're wondering why, then you have to go back and look and say, okay, well, if these other people are doing these things and they're working, maybe I should be. And I think ads is definitely in that category, right? I mean, marketing, there's a full spectrum of what you can do with it. I think I have a very hard time believing at this point now that just completely ghosting the internet, that you're going to make it to 1 million, right? It's very hard to believe. Like, you're going to have at least like a baseline Google business profile. Like, if somebody Googles you and you don't exist, I think there's a cap of how big that you can get before you can pass that. And as long as If you want to go past that, then you got to figure it out, or you got to pay somebody to figure it out.
Those companies do exist though. The ones that have made it to like 5 million, who have literally ghosted the internet, as Cody is saying. But I think to elaborate on what Cody is saying is, I don't think you can get there now. Like if you started now to get to like 1 to 5 million or like the actual big sizes, like you're not like you have to do the internet things. And like we've had a couple of those clients where we're like, yeah, we're $5 million in revenue and we have a site that was built in 2001, and that's all they did. And it's like, this is because they started in the 80s and just got that foothold and just relied on that.
My grandpa started this company and my dad worked for him, and you know the story, and yeah, and that's awesome, but times change. Yeah.
And just from my experience with dealing with those people that are like that, that's great, but you're typically the ones that are out there selling, or you're out there making phone calls, and you're basically the marketing of your business doing that. And that's fine. I'm not saying that's wrong. That's what you're choosing to do, is you're literally calling people on the phone, asking for work or visiting customers. And that's just another way about going about doing it. But to me, like the digital side, there's just a whole nother reach, it's a whole nother world that you can get into, and you can really ramp up your business by taking advantage of these ads and these different platforms out there that you didn't even experience, I guess, before. So I think it's yeah, there's a cap. And I like your response there, Jake. What's your retirement plan? That's a really good answer.
Cody and I started this business because of two reasons. One is because we're good at marketing, and based on our life choices, this is what has led us to do the thing that we are good at and also enjoy. The other reason is because life isn't about how many hours you clock into your job, and like this business allows us to do the things that we want to do. Cody's pursuing living in Japan and being over there, and I'm pursuing professional paintball and just traveling with my wife. Like life should be about the things that you enjoy, not just working all day. So if you're not building a system in your business to, one, generate leads, and then two, close those leads as so you can take time off or you can retire or do the things that you like, then what is the point? And like that's just my perspective, and some people's perspective might just be like, well, I do want to work until I die, and that's totally cool too.
Yeah.
Whatever you want, man.
The other question I guess I would ask then, what would happen if you can't work anymore? You get sick or something happens, God forbid, then
That's not gonna happen to me. That's what you hear. All right,
yeah, exactly. Well, guys, this has been great, and I really appreciate you sharing all this information, especially about the Angis and the Nextdoor and all those other platforms that really have a bad name out there. So I appreciate you guys sharing this stuff out there. Is there anything else that you'd like to add, or something we didn't really go over here today?
No, I think
got
most
one.
of it's. Oh, okay, all right.
I do. Because we talked about LSAs early, and I want to give people a proper heads up. I said onboarding is the most difficult part of the process, and it's 100% true. We've learned things most recently that I think are like pretty shocking. If you start getting into it and then you're like, wait, what? are you serious? So if anybody is going to go down the route of trying to sign up for local service ads themselves, and they get in the onboarding process and they're confused and they're trying to get through with support, which their support is actually really good. Like if you pick up the phone and call them instead of regular Google ads, they're way more helpful. They actually know what they're talking about. They will guide you and that sort of thing. But licenses, this is like the thing to bring home that I wanted to make sure gets talked about here. They will require licenses that you don't think you need. And it's true, you don't need them to offer the services that you offer in some cases. Google does not care. Okay. So if they say you need the license to operate in the category, you need the license even if you don't offer the service. So I have a good example here in Iowa. If you want to advertise in landscaping for local service ads in Iowa, you need a commercial contractor license. And I mean, depending on the type of landscaping that you're doing, you might need that or you might not need that. So if you're in that general category where you think that you don't need it, Google doesn't care. So you will still have to go and get that license, even if you never use it, which is exactly what we would recommend. go get that license, never use it. Congrats, you can now advertise on Google Ads for local service ads in the landscaping category, even if you're not going to be, whatever those particular jobs are that you need it for here. I don't know, because it varies by state, right? But that varies by category. So I know a lot of guys do different things. If you do snow in the winter, right? If you're also in one of the trippiest ones is you need an applicator license in lawn care, even if you don't apply. If you're just mowing, you still need it. They're still going to make you have it. So that the other stuff I think is pretty self-explanatory. Insurance, things like that. Like it's pretty intuitive, but that's the biggest one that we see trips people up. We'll get halfway through. So we've tried to get very aggressive at the beginning of letting people know instead of getting halfway through and then saying, hey, do you have these licenses? And they're like, no. And it's like, okay, can you go get it? Because we need you to.
It's stupid. Our clients think it's stupid, and even Google thinks it's stupid. Like even the reps that we talked to, they're like, "Yeah, it doesn't make any sense." But Google's legal team is not backing down, and it's like, doesn't make any sense. I only mow lawns. I want lawn mowing leads. Sorry, you need an applicator's license.
It's good.
And the categories are dumb.
Yeah, those are weird too. Yep.
We
Sod installation is in the lawn care category and not the landscaping category. So if you don't even do lawn mowing and you want to do sod installation, you need an applicator's license because it's in the lawn care category.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we've told them, we complained to them. We do not yet have enough clout to change it. But we keep fighting and hopefully eventually they will. Otherwise you just kind of, you pick them and you hope. And yeah, all that said, it's still totally worth it. So give it a shot.
Real quick, you guys, I know you have a bunch of articles on your website. Do you have one? I thought you had one on setting up the local service ads.
I think we do, don't we? Didn't you set
We
that up?
do. I think it's only for lawn care right now, but really that section can just be replaced. So everything up until that point, and then after that point will be for landscapers. And yeah, I mean, it'll just, again, vary. And that's the hardest thing that we have trouble with is we don't know what those licenses are depending on where you're located, right? If you're up in Canada too, like, we don't know. We don't know what they're going to ask. We don't know, depending on the state, what they're going to require. I think they change it based on when they feel like it. So
yeah, I think
it's a surprise.
California needs a weird one for landscaping. Like you need to have like a landscape contractor license or something like that. And I remember our California client, he's like, I don't even know what that is. And I'm like, I don't either. Google just says you need it, so I would Google it.
Yeah. Now, I have a client that's in, they're near Los Angeles, and they went through, and not for the ads, but they had to get this contractor license that I didn't even knew exist or anything.
And you don't actually need it to do the work. Like Google just requires it for some reason.
It's so weird. So weird.
Yeah.
So the more you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no, sorry. The article is on the site. So if people do check it out, it will guide you through most of the process. Yeah.
And you guys have a ton of great information on their site too. Last time I looked, you guys have the data, all this stuff. So go check out that. If you need help setting things up or you need data or information, go check it out.
We try to publish everything so you can just do it yourself if you want. Coming in the future, and I don't know, I've been being like very wishful because like AI is not quite released yet. Angi's partnership isn't quite there yet. Also, we're working on an academy, which is basically going to be like a full free like YouTube series that you can literally just watch and do the things that we do to market. And at least initially, we'll have like a bunch of like free YouTube courses on how to like run your own Google ads and things like that. So none of this stuff should be gated. Nobody, this isn't like rocket science. It's just a matter of how much time do you want to spend doing it.
Good point. Good point. Well, guys, thank you very much for being on the show. Would you mind sharing with the listeners how they can get hold of you and kind of get set up if they need to get some ads going or get a website?
Yeah, absolutely. So the best way to get a hold of us is to, email us at contact@evergrowmarketing.com or me directly at jake@evergrowmarketing.com. You can call us at our phone number's on our website. Just go to the website. All the information is there. I will say, if you do want to get in touch with us and you do want us to work together or build a website in some capacity and work together next year or even at the end of this year, call sooner rather than later. As soon as January, February hits, we are so busy. We're booked out till like May, June. So if you want to get on the docket for the upcoming spring, I would call sooner rather than later.
Nice, nice. Well, again, guys, thank you very much for being on the show, Jake, Cody. It's always a pleasure having you on here. You guys are full of information, so thank you. All right, guys, if you guys need help with your ads, need help with getting your website, go check out these guys. Like I said, these guys are superb when it comes to the data, and they know all this stuff. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your energy trying to do it. Go mow, go do your landscaping. Let the professionals, these guys, handle it. So, all right, guys, well, thank you for joining us today. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Scott.
Scott.